of
All right.
number of majors that are out there that would qualify for this. We've got some additional schools that will qualify for the first time, and we want to make some revisions to the legislation itself based on the feedback we received from several of the campuses about changing the age and some other criteria, sort of addressing the issue with the associate degree kind of thing. But Stephanie's really worked out all the details about the expansion of the program, how we did it. And as you know, she knows the details, and it'll be probably more detail than you want to hear, but we do that to make sure that you know we're not hiding anything underneath our academic regalia to keep it all hidden and make it like a magical thing. Instead, we show you more than you want to know, and then you can complain about that part later. So with that, I'd like to hand it back over to Stephanie, and she'll work through that. Now, Arcola Petways and Arcola Wave.
Hello.
So Arcola does the actual administration of the scholarship, so she's the person that handles all the details once we get it moving. And I think the big thing is there is a lot of interest. We just had our budget hearing at the governor's office within the hour. And they were very interested in seeing how this program was going and what the uptick is. And that's one of the things you have to do is once you have a program like this, you have to be successful, or they let it just wander off and let it starve to death for lack of funding. So anyway, there's a lot of things to talk about, but I think Stephanie's part will sort of become the big part of that to sort of show how we're thinking of expanding. Stephanie, we can't, you're on mute. Oh, there you go.
I'm sorry. I was making sure. Can you see the first slide?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. All right, so to start this is an update for spring 25. If you have any questions, please take note. If you want to interject, that's fine. But of course, we'll take questions at the very end of our conversation today. I want to first start to say thank you to all of those who were able to have students for the last 2 semesters that we've offered. And I know the fall is underway. These are the institutions that we have identified for eligibility for 2025. We do have some new institutions. As you can see, we have 5 private institutions, and one of our community colleges now also are eligible with our new SIPs that we've brought into the program. So we have 14 public of 4 years, 13 of the private institutions, and 24 now of our public 2-year institutions to start of 25. So we're going to start first just as a refresher for eligibility rules. We do have our new members that will be coming in, and I am scheduling times to talk with them, Arcola and I, individually, so we can help you get on board. But I want to refresh everyone about this as how it stands now. They do have to be an Alabama resident, be 25 years of age, out of college for at least 2 years prior to their current enrollment, completed the FAFSA, pursuing their first associate or baccalaureate degree, and have earned at least 2/3 of that degree, being 36 or 72 according to level, of an approved program. They have to be enrolled in at least 6 hours per semester, and they have to be in good standing and be enrolled in a course of a program, courses that align with the program of the ACCC list that we will discuss in a moment. As far as the actual award amounts, full-time students, they at 12 hours, that's the maximum amount for associate is $1,500, $3,000 for bachelor's. For part-time students from 6 to 11 hours, it's $125 per credit hour and $250 for the bachelor level. We do want to remind you that those students who start the program at your institution with this grant, if they decide to transfer to another institution, they do become ineligible because we do not allow this program award to be transferable. You start the work with the student, and we would hope that you would also reap the benefits as well as the students to have a degree for both the institution to count as well as that student. So as far as the occupations and aligned programs for this past year, we had our 2024 list, our 2023 that we applied for 2024 when we started back in January. And for this particular year coming in the spring, we have another list that we're using, the most recent list, as you see. And this, we will provide a PDF. This is a link here to that list, and I'll show you the list as well. So a lot of things are happening here, but we take all of this information and put it together to make a calculation toward the award projections, and that's what I want to show to you now. So how does it work? So we take the list of the high demand occupation list, and we used it for the new list for 2025. So all of these documents are available at these two websites. And as you see, first on the left-hand side of each page, it has the career clusters. Then to the next line, it is the SOC code that we use. And then beside it is the occupation title, as well as the average annual salary, the median, and the average annual openings. All of this information is what we take into account when we are configuring how much money is allocated to each institution. So I'll go a little step further. We took the SOC codes that you just saw, and we took that list of your average annual openings, which is the fourth column here, and we ranked them from 1 to 4. Then we took the median annual salary and ranked them 1 to 4. Combined those two values to get a rank of 2 to 8. And what we are applying this year is ranks of 6, 7, and 8. And if you notice, these groups here are returning SOC codes from 2024 list. So we did not lose any. We would not remove them anyway if they were already part of the process, but they did fall back into this count again. So then those SOC codes have a crosswalk with SIP codes that's provided through our federal alliance. You have with, you can get it at NCES, you can get it at the SOC code website, as well as the SIP code site. And these are those SIP codes that are potential candidates for your programs at your institutions. Not everyone, of course, offers everything, and that's where we have to put them where they belong. But I wanted you to see here at the bottom right corner, just so you get an idea, out of these SIP codes, 35.7% are at both levels, but the majority are at the bachelor level. This is to explain, I'll take this first page. This is starting with the public 4 years. I will let you know there are 3 pages per level. You have public 4-year, public 2-year, and your private institutions. So what we do here, you'll see the first column is your SOC code that aligns with the occupation title that came from the ACCCP. Then you have the degree level, whether it be bachelor at B or A for associate. This is where that particular SOC code ranked when we took all of those values and put that together to rank it. And from that, here are your SIP codes that are aligned with the SOC code. Then all of the rest of the information to the right is each institution as to which of those SOC codes are offered at that institution. So if it's grayed out, that means you do not offer any of those particular SOC codes at your institution. And we do use our inventory academic inventory to make sure we have this accurate. But if you do see something that you think's in question, please let me know once you review these documents. So here's the second page for the 4-year and the last page. Notice we did add some business SOC codes as well as education SOC codes. So that may be hopefully a plus for many of you at your institutions to bring in more students. Here are our 2-year. And then we have our private institutions. So once we know each of those zip codes at the institutions, how do we determine our results as far as how the money is allocated? So to start, here is an example for the public 4-year. What we do, you have your institution, and from 2015-16 to 2022-23 of Alabama residents in our data fields, we collected the total degrees awarded according to the SIPs of that previous list that you just saw that your institution offers, and have a total value of degrees awarded, then divided it by the number of years that we reviewed, which were 8, to get an average degrees awarded. That average degree awarding, you'll see to the far right side here, we have at bachelor's level, 83% of the overall average degrees awarded are from the bachelor's level that we offer. Remember, your SIP codes that we have potential list of, there are more of those than what we may actually offer at our institutions. Then your associate level, 17% of those, 2,523, are offered out of this same group, giving you 15,184 total average degrees. So of the public 4-year, out of this group of 15,184, your bachelor's comprises 71.5%, and then of the associate is 0.6. And you'll notice Troy and UWA, that is where I've included the B level money, the allocation at 12,000, and A is at 3,000 for those associate degrees. So when you take that average number of degrees awarded, we got an in-state distribution percentage. For example, Alabama A&M is 2%. And out of the money, 83% of the money that we were given, that goes to the university 4-year SIPs. And 60,000, then 2% of that, it totals to 60,000 for Alabama A&M. The potential slots 5 is saying that if at most you had 5 people who needed the entire remainder of their degree to use all of that funds. We've talked about this before. You might have a mixture and more people actually than 5 people who could be assisted, but that's a maximum amount if they use the entire amount to finish their degree from 72 hours to 120. And I know it's a lot to take in, but this is for the public. Go ahead, Dr. Purcell.
I was just going to mention that, we have new majors, but, what you can do is that you can use this money in any of the majors. So as you expand that list, it's going to open up new avenues. So let's say that you haven't been able to find students that are meeting the criteria that we had last year, which was pretty tight. When we expanded to those that were 6, and now we're going, if they had a score of 6 to 8, you're going to have a lot more majors for which there may be adults in that to qualify.
Right. Because we had 15 SOC codes last year that we have expanded to actually 42. So that there are a lot more programs eligibility here. For the 2-year institutions, now remember, this is additional distribution of funds. This is how much money extra from the additional 4.5 that we were allocated, not in addition to what you had last year. I'll show you that in a minute. This is all the additional distribution of funds that starts for 2025. And then for your privates. So with this new money, so to speak, additional money, for 2024, this column gives the list that you were provided last year with your Excel spreadsheets, those who participated. Now this is additional money so that once we rework your Excel spreadsheets, you now have this amount of money to offer to students for scholarship for reengage.
And that total column includes the both years. So if you expended some funds already, which some of you have, that's not the math isn't there just for ease of sharing.
Right.
This would be the total allocation that you have gotten, counting both years.
And so this is just some additional data that you may or may not want to share at your institutional level in case they ask, how many SIPs do we really have out of the whole group comparison, to give you a little extra information. 2 years. And then private institutions. So you definitely have a lot of more SIPs to offer to the students, a lot more programs to bring into the program. I did want to share with you where we were as of the end of this summer term. So we had for our 2024 so far, we have our 7 institutions at the 4-year and our 6 at the 2-year public who did participate and found students to be part of the program. We have a few demographics here. We had 37 recipients with 92,500 awarded. Majority are female. And then also we broke it down one more step so that you can see how the actual falling percentages of the program. So nursing is the highest rate, with computer science and accounting. And then it's somewhat, the finance, applied health science, information systems are similar, as well as your cybersecurity, computer engineering, and electrical. So this is why it's so important as we go through this process, that in those Excel spreadsheets, that you maintain that information of that individual student once they complete, once they receive a degree, because as we go through this, we will start adding that type of information to this report as well.
And there was a big thing about in the budget hearing today is we want to know about this program. How is it performing? How many graduates have we already received? And I said, well, the program just started in January, and that was sort of right after we had finished all the rules. So we really didn't anticipate a big uptick of the first year. And they said, oh, but we want to know how many are in the program or whatever. So that's why it's important for us to really begin to plan out how to move forward on optimizing use of these scholarships at your campus.
And I do want to say that it has
Andrew,
been.
do you know anything about Reengage Alabama and CIPs and SOCs and money and?
So let me close this right quick, if you don't mind. I will say we did have some graduates, so it is possible. I know at AUM they had 4. Is that correct, Paul?
You asked how many graduates we had?
Yes.
I think we have 4. I mean, double check that.
I was thinking you had 4.
Yeah, it sounds right.
Yeah.
Make Reengage.
The catch to me, I shouldn't say catch, but an important thing to keep in mind is when you're trying to identify these students, they could have started already, let's say in the spring of this year, but they did not meet the criteria as far as hours, but everything else was met. They had been out for 2 years, but now as of this fall, they do meet the hour. So it's from the time that they return of enrollment is what we're looking at.
We did have 4.
Thank you, Paul. I thought you did. Appreciate that. Are there any questions that you have at this time that we could answer?
I have a question.
Yes, hey.
Hi, this is Jennifer Olinger. I had one student in the program back in the summer semester.
Mm-hmm.
So he did the 23-24 FAFSA. Well, he had difficulty and could not get the 24-25 FAFSA to work for him. So I've been trying to have him come in so I could help him with the FAFSA, and he just decided just to pay out of pocket instead of trying to get the re-engaged. Do they have to reapply for the FAFSA the second year if they qualified for it for the first year? Or,
Yes.
filled out a FAFSA, because he didn't fill out the FAFSA for the new year, and that's what I was trying to get done.
Yes, ma'am. That's part of the requirements. They have to
Okay.
maintain that FAFSA application.
Yeah, I don't know why he won't come in because he would be a graduate. So I don't know if I could still count him as a graduate since he's paying out of pocket this semester.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know how to report that.
I think maybe you and I could just, we could have a conversation to make sure and see what we might could do since it's still
Mhm.
within this term.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
I've tried and tried to
we-
get him to come in.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Jennifer, we'd love to count him, and he was
Yes.
a participant. The fact that he volunteered to pay his last semester, we certainly want to help support him if we can get him to fill out a FAFSA.
Mhm.
And there's great resources I mean, I know you know how to use FAFSA stuff.
Yeah, he just
But-
won't come in. So I don't know.
I have a question, Ms. Dolan and others. First and foremost, thank you on behalf of Talladega College for the opportunity to learn more about this and be a part of it. And some of the preliminary information that we reviewed, we saw a section that talked about application deadlines. And say, for instance, it talked about deadline for submission of your application to the institution for the fall would be September 15, but how does that work if we're already in our semester has already started? So we didn't quite understand that. And I know we're having a meeting.
Yes. Well, for you particularly, Derek, your students will not be able to apply until spring.
Okay.
Okay, so then that means even though they're a student right now, you can still have them apply for the spring term because the prior money was spring, summer, and fall of 24. And this additional money, which was allowed us with the new SIPs to bring you into play, that's where it starts in the spring in January.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Anyone else?
I'm sorry, I have one more question.
Oh, no.
So-
that's fine.
So the new SIP, so we can't go and award anybody else for this fall for the new SIPs. We need, if it's going to be a new SIP that we're using, we start that in the spring.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
We're adhering to the same Excel spreadsheet with all of those codes that's embedded
Mhm.
for this term to start with. We're going to have a new one for everyone that has the additional codes embedded.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the new numbers are substantial. I mean, the good news is you can still use, if you didn't award anybody this time, you can still, you get to use the old money for the new SIPs too. So, once you get it in the bucket, it's your bucket.
Yeah, and you could actually hopefully take this time to identify some students right now who will qualify for the spring with the new SIP codes. Anyone else?
Can we talk then a little bit about what we're planning to do as far as changes? Of
Yes,
course,
sir.
that wouldn't come effect until next spring, most likely, depends on how the legislation is worded. But generally speaking, we heard from you all that the 25 was too old for us. Y'all wanted to have young whippersnappers to still be out of college for 2 years. So now we're going to try to drop it down to 22, which sort of gives you more of an avenue. And again, this is after the legislation is passed. We also had a sort of a weird situation with those that had an associate's degree but had been out for a period of time. Why can't they go on to get a support? We will be adding them back in. Now, if they are an associate, if they're going into this program as a student at a community college and getting an associate, they're done because we funded them to get their first degree. But if they are at a university and they've already got an associate or they haven't even applied yet, and they have the right number of hours and all the other factors, we will allow the associate degree from a previous experience to not be a barrier. And those are the big changes in the legislation. Stephanie, you helped us work on the legislation. Anything else in there we were modifying?
Yes, I just wanted to clarify that with those who have earned an associate, they have been out for 2 years and have not been a recipient of Reengage.
Right.
So I think he said that. I just wanted to make sure that was clear. But But that way they can be eligible at the 4-year bachelor level institutions programs with the 2-year stop out.
Yep, so we're trying to make it as clear as mud. That's how legislation works. But I think the big thing is we are trying to build this thing from scratch. We did learn a lot this year in that, and I think that this expanded number will sort of give you greater capacity to hand the money out more efficiently and to a lot more students.
So of course, if anytime you have a question, feel free to contact me, or Arcola will be more than happy to answer your questions, set up an individual Zoom call with you and your team. Sometimes it just takes that conversation to sort through potential avenues that you may have come into play with trying to identify your students and award them. But we're very excited and hope to see greater numbers as we continue through this program.
And the legislation has not been submitted, so if you have another idea that we should try, you can send it to us and let us look. And if we are in a good mood, we might take it and move with it. So I think we learned from you guys, especially about all the weird things that happen with students, especially adults have different needs and everything. So yeah, and we just saw Michelle's note about the 2-year criteria. And I think that's the big issue. This was an initiative that was sort of based out of a national effort to try to get people to go back into school. It wasn't necessary to be a funder for helping people graduate. As you know, Alabama is very notorious for not supporting their students from a state level. We have one of the lowest need-based aid programs in the country. We have not a whole lot of merit aid at the state level. It's all done by the institutions. The fact that we were able to get funding for this was all dependent on taking people that we knew that were going to stay in Alabama that already started work out in the real world, maybe married, bought a house, has a mortgage and a car payment to pay, and then try to encourage them to go back to college. That was the thing we could sell. And the reason we had to specify the majors was because they wanted us to help address a problem that we have in this state, which is we have a mismatch of what people are educated in and what the new economy is requiring in Alabama. So that's how you build legislation. You have to basically build what the legislature wants you to build. And that's sort of the best we could do. And really, frankly, if we start all rolling out as we anticipate everybody will, the money is not enough to pay for everybody to ever finish. Certainly the state of Alabama should provide more merit and more need-based aid, but we haven't been able to get there for that. But I'm with you. We would love to provide it for anyone.
Okay. Well, if there are no other questions, we appreciate you taking the time this afternoon to meet with us. And again, let us know. Okay, there is a question. Is there a maximum number of credit hours for a student to be eligible? Yes, we took a consensus of most of the programs. 120 hours is the average. So that is actually where we max it. In addition to being 12 hours per term max. They can take more. It's just that's where we cap at what's covered each term. And for the completion.
Same amount for
Exactly.
full time.
For full time. Minimum is 6 hours for part time. Thank you, Helen, for that question. Anyone else?
I have a really weird situation. I'll just throw this out there. I've got a student who's taking 12 hours. He's in his last semester. But he's going to go over the 120. He needs 3 hours to reach 120, but he's taking 12 hours. So he's doing at least a 6 minimum, but he's only eligible for 3 more hours of funding. Is there any way we can help him with those last 3? Or is he just, when I put him into the spreadsheet, it's like, no, you're out of luck because you don't have 6 more hours of eligibility, even though he's taking at least 6 hours.
I know.
It's weird.
And that's, you know, and that is one of those tricky situations, Paul. That's kind of where the what if situation came into play with the spreadsheet. So that if you were advising the student, you could actually do a projection to where they should have taken more hours, you know, depending on the situation. But at this point, yes, that's where we stop.
Yeah. No, I warned him ahead of time. I said, scale back in the summer. He didn't listen.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think that's the hard part about all of our policies. I mean, you know, yeah, once you put it on paper, it becomes obsolete, and you know, every campus will have a special situation. We certainly agree. We have that with other aid programs too. And it doesn't seem fair, or doesn't seem right, or doesn't seem supportive. You know, but you know, we do our best, try to build the best mousetrap we can. But then all the smart students or the smart staffs try to figure out a way. Well, what if, you know, they had blue hair and they were this and this? Can we give them something? You know, but so yeah, no, Paul, I appreciate you using that as an example. Once, especially if it's written in our policy or written in our law, we sort of have to follow those. They do give us an ability to gray things in policy, but we can't be against anything that's in the law. And the law is just fairly strict on some things. And then we try to stretch the envelope a good bit in the policy if we think it's allowable. And that's usually a conversation between all of us, whether we'd be willing to stand up for that particular nuance in a court of law later. You know, so that's sort of how it works. I will just say that for the legislature, it's all about, we want you to do a specific thing now. There's in higher ed, we used to get money thrown over the fence, and they trusted us to do the right thing and all that kind of stuff. And now there's just, we want you to do this thing. We want you to educate these humans. Why are you educating those humans? You know, there's specific criteria about what kind of graduates we want to graduate and how much we're willing to pay. And the good news, this is actually a scholarship. There's a lot of aid programs that we have in this state that are actually loan repayment programs. A lot of the education programs that we have is if you graduate and then you go off and become a teacher, we'll help you pay back your student loans. But not everybody has a student loan. At least in this particular aid program, we were able to include the ability for us to provide for this person because they're going to go work in a job that is important to the state, and they bought that. But in the past, it's all about, well, if they go and actually get the job, then we'll pay them back. And as you know, that's a hard thing to figure out. Well, we look forward to all of you producing lots of graduates. Do like Paul, just sign them up their senior semester and finish them off. That gives us more points to share with our funders. But we do understand that it's, you know, we said we pay for them for a certain amount of credits, and we want to do that and get as many people in there, helping people with the American Dream when they need the help the most.
Well, if you can think of anything else, let us know. We're here to help, and we appreciate you and all that you do. Thank you.